only two dating problems you can have. One is I'm not finding any dates. There's ways and reasons, ways to do that, and reasons why it doesn't happen that you can fix. But I'm finding them. Maybe the second problem is I'm finding them, but they're not worth keeping. I'm getting attracted to a bunch of wackos. And so, how do you find the good ones? How do you recognize good ones? Well, that's what that book's about. And he has a question. I've heard you talk about dating multiple people to get to know them. I like the idea, but how does it work in real life to avoid feelings of jealousy or betrayal? Would you date only one person at a time or only one person? Here's a good one from each venue. I don't know. Does that mean family? I had a fraternity brother in college. This is a true story. And this is back before cell phones. And so if you're roommates, right, you have one phone, right, for the roommates. He was dating roommates, literally dating roommates. And it took him a while to figure it out, but they caught on, and then he wasn't dating either of the roommates again. Or only one person from each venue, or how do you do that? Okay, great question. Now, let me tell you the reason why I put this section in the book. Um, and I researched this for a couple of years. The reason I wrote this book and how I wrote the book was I kept running into singles that said they couldn't get dates, why aren't they dating, or the dates they were finding, were miserable. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to crack the code on this. And I did a big research project all across the country, put together dating groups for a couple of years. I followed them, engaged in the process with them, and that's where the book came from because I found out there were real reasons why people weren't doing well in their dating life. I mean, very, very real reasons. Well, one of them was that two, three, let's call it three issues were converging at once. Okay. One of the issues was that they had a type, right? And they wouldn't go out on dates if, oh, well, he's not my type or she's not my type, right? Or if I don't feel like there's any potential here, and they wouldn't even go out. Okay. Well, first of all, what that does to your numbers is devastating, right? What you've got to actually act like it'd be like it's August summer training for a football team, and they say, I'm not going on the field if it's not the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? You got to play the season to get ready for the Super Bowl. Hey, but you're only going to play one game a year? Are you kidding? And so one of the things was they were limiting themselves so much that they really didn't even, I mean, they thought they knew what they could not know. You can't know that before meeting somebody or going out with somebody. Number two, it limited them from discovering that there are a lot of people out there beyond your type that you have no idea that you might be immensely attracted to after going out with them a bunch. And I heard this over and over and over and over and over, and especially from married couples. You say, well, she really wasn't my type, or he really wasn't my type. Or, well, types are normally built out of pathology anyway. People construct a fantasy of a certain type generally out of their own issues or deprivations. It's the opposite of a parent who hurt them. It's the opposite of parts of themselves that they don't like. It's a defensive pattern to stay away from certain issues and aspect. It's just the type thing is just really problematic, really problematic. But here's the big reason why I put this in the book. In addition to those, well, and there's one more. You got to learn. You don't really know what you like until you. I mean, are you going to buy a car by just closing your eyes and going through the Google page and go, okay, that one? No, you you go sit in them, right? You smell them. It's a good thing to do, especially if you're, you know, a woman. I mean, a lot of these guys stink. They didn't get deodorant, right? Stuff. You know what I mean? You got to smell out their issues. But here's the big deal. The big deal. What people would do is they would float along and then they would go out with somebody and then that would be the person they are dating, and they would become serially monogamous, right? And get much more involved and attached and everything way too quickly. And that brings a whole host of a bunch of other problems. But the main thing is you're not out there and you've got to get the numbers way up of a lot of different kinds of people and activities that you're experiencing. And so what I said was, I would like for you to be the old term when I grew up was you would say is she dating anybody or is he dating anybody? And you would either hear, yeah, he or she is dating, Mary or Johnny, right? Or the answer would be, no, I'm just playing the field right now. Well, what does playing the field mean? It means that I have defined this season as not being serious, being in a relationship with anybody, just going out with a lot of different people. And see, if you redefine dating like you should, and this is one of the early chapters of the book, dating is not about marriage. You're not going on a safari to find the trophy. Dating is an experience that is a valid social, fun, engaging experience in and of itself. You know, to go to a football game with somebody, or to go out to dinner, or to go to a movie, or to go to a museum, or to go, hey, let's go fishing today, or let's get on our bikes and let's ride, and you're getting to know and you're spending time with different kinds of people, and there's no strings attached. Now, you're also not doing stuff that would make people think that there are strings attached. That's a different issue. But this is just a date. It's just a date. Many of you saw the program with Tori, my wife, last week. And somebody asked the question, how'd you guys meet? Well, we met at a party, at a Christmas party on my boat, and a friend of mine brought her. She was his date. That's how I met her. Well, she was in a season where she was going out with a lot of people. She had met him at a wedding. He said, hey, I'm going to this party. Why don't you go with me? It's just a date. Okay. Now, to your question about feeling jealousy or betrayal, if you go out with somebody once, okay, and then they find out the next week, oh yeah, I saw the guy you went out with. He was at the movies with so and so. If they feel betrayed by that, like you've done something wrong, that's a yellow flag because why do they feel like they own you after going to lunch with you one time? I mean, that's pretty clingy, right? That's pretty almost stalker behavior. They just went to lunch once. Now, if you've been going out every weekend for 6 months, that's a different deal. And that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about having multiple serious relationships. What I'm talking about is going out with a lot of different people. And here's the thing, when do you begin to get serious with somebody? You begin to get serious with somebody when somebody stands out in the crowd, right? But do you know how easy it is to stand out in a crowd of one? It's pretty easy. And that's how people get into this serial rut. But if you're going out with a lot of different people, I mean, not, but then all of a sudden somebody's going to come along and go, whoa, this was different. This is different. This is different. So basically, I'm just talking about learning and experiencing a lot of different people. Now, if you get to a certain point where you're going out with somebody, you know, over and over and over again, at some point, oh, come on, guys, teenagers know this. At some point, there's the DTR conversation. You got to define the relationship. We've been going out, well, and I know I've been, as I tell you, I've been dating a lot of people, but you know, I've really begun to think that there's, more here that we should find out about, and I would like to, I'd like to know if you're in the same place, because if you are, I I'd like to, you know, become exclusive and not date anybody else. And sometimes the other person say, well, I'm not ready for that. Man, don't feel threatened by that. Now you're competing. Okay. Don't go get your wounded self up. So, well, I understand. Now, at some point, and depending on, what's going on, at some point, you know what? Uh, it's been long enough. All right. There's a shelf life to this dating other people thing. But that's kind of so don't worry. I mean, be clear with people. Yeah, I'm not, right now I'm not looking for anything serious. Uh, just dating a lot of people. I've really enjoyed our time together. Be clear, not lead them on if you're honest. Okay. And then if they are, then they have a decision to make. If they start to get jealous, and you have that conversation. Maybe you're ready, maybe you're not. So hope that helps. Get the book. It'll explain it in much more detail. I hear this a lot though, and I'll go to the calls after this last point. I hear a lot of people will hear me say one little piece about the book, and they say, "Well, I haven't read the book." I go, "Well, then it's not going to make any sense to you." Okay, it, this is a whole program. This is a whole program put together with a lot of work and a lot of research. And I will tell you this: that over the years, and I wrote it quite a while back. Over the years, I have had, and I don't know, I didn't count them. I know it's in the hundreds, way in the hundreds. It could be way more than that. Couples that have written to me, and individuals and couples that have come up to me at events where I'm speaking or whatever. They'll come up and they'll be holding hands, and they hold their hands and they show their wedding rings and say, "The book, we found each other because we did the book." And it got them out of the rut. And so if you feel like you're in one of those ruts, how to get a date and how do you find the ones worth keeping, then I would suggest to you. Also, if you go to boundaries.me, I have a course from the book on boundaries.me. So become a subscriber and you'll have access to it.